This is Mark Bell from SuperTraining Gym. SuperTraining Gym, the strongest gym in the West, and I want to talk to you today about running. I know it's strange to see me out there running, but there's some really positive things that have happened from it. Number one is, when we went into quarantine and things got shut down and I wasn't able to train in the gym, like many of you, I could have still come to the gym. I could have still come to SuperTraining Gym, but I didn't feel comfortable doing that because we're a team. I like training together. I like training with my friends. I like training with my staff. So I decided to shut it down as well. The gym is now open again, so we don't have the problem of not being able to lift weights anymore. But for myself personally, I was able to shift into just taking on a new challenge. And I really want to encourage a lot of you to not be afraid to take on a new challenge. Running is something that was intimidating to me, as the SuperTraining Gym might be intimidating to somebody who hasn't ever lifted before. Coming in on a Saturday and seeing us get after it, squatting and hitting all these big weights and lifting with bands and chains and having crazy music blasting and seeing the aggressiveness and the intensity might kind of make some people nervous. Well, I had some fears myself about running because I just haven't practiced it much. We kind of fear what we don't know. And because I didn't have much knowledge of running, I still don't have much knowledge of running, but because I don't know a lot about it, I was like, well, let me just kind of play around with it. Let me just toy around with it. Let me just kind of try it. And it all started from walking. I started walking about 6 or 7 years ago. I used to weigh 330 pounds. Nowadays, I weigh more like 230 pounds. So I've lost 100 pounds. A lot of it started with building the habit of walking. I'd walk every day I'd do what I call 10-minute walks. I've been doing them for a long time. But the key is I've been consistent with them. Why have I been consistent with a 10-minute walk? Well, because a 10-minute walk is very simple to do. It's actually very easy. Maybe for somebody listening right now, maybe for someone, maybe a 10-minute walk would be a little bit of a struggle. If that's the case, then try a 5-minute walk or a 3-minute walk or a walk to your mailbox and back into your home. Whatever level that you need to start at that, and you want it to be so simple and sound pretty easy in the beginning to the point where you're like, I can do that. That's no problem. It's going to be no sweat. You want it to sound like chump change, basically. You want it to sound pretty easy, because after you start to try to do it every day for a long period of time, it can wear on you, and it can it can take willpower. But over the course of all this walking that I've been doing, I decided one day I was walking and I just started to feel pretty good. And I was like, well, I think I can run. And so I started to run. And I was like, well, I think I can maybe run, to that garbage can over there. And so I did. I didn't run very far. I maybe ran, 100 yards. But then I was like, I felt pretty good. I think I can do it again. And so I started to do what I was calling a walk run. Well, nowadays, sometimes when I'm going on my walk run, it turns into a run walk, where I'm running more significantly than I am walking. And the progression was very, very slow. I took my time with it. I didn't write down a bunch of stuff. I wasn't calculating how many meters I was running. I wasn't calculating how many miles or kilometers or anything I was going. I wasn't timing anything or really measuring much of anything. The one thing that I would measure was, how consistent am I with what I'm doing? And I've been extremely consistent with it. There hasn't been a point now where there's not either a walk or a run or me doing stairs or me wearing a weighted vest. There hasn't been any situation where I'm not doing at least one of those things every single day. The reason why I bring this up is because I think it's important to have more things in your arsenal other than just the lifting by itself. Lifting is great because there's so many options that we have when it comes to lifting. But we also have a lot of options when it comes to our cardiovascular training. There's Airdyne bikes, there's ski ergs, there's rowers, there's treadmills, there's Peloton bikes and treadmills. We have a lot of options. Me personally, I'd rather get outside rather than use a piece of cardio equipment. And so that's what I've been doing. That's the switch that I made. And it's really helping me to feel really good about what I'm doing. I've been stuck for a long time between 240 and 250. I'd occasionally dip down to 235 or so here and there with a little extra effort from the diet. But now I've been consistently more like between 230 and 235, which might not seem like that much progress, but when you've been doing this stuff for as long as I have, and you have any improvement at all, it ends up being fairly large improvement, because I've been working at it for so long and I've gotten stuck for a pretty long time. So it is incrementally, it is something that I think is a good measure of my success, of the fact that I've been able to lose some weight, especially during quarantine, when you're just like a couple steps away from an enormous amount of food. One of the things that I would do when I was running, though, is I think maybe there's a misunderstanding. Sometimes people feel like they feel like things can only go like one specific way. Like, I hear this often. People will talk and they'll kind of say things in a negative way. And I'm like, wow, the reverse is true, though, for the positive as well. So people will say, fuck it, I'm just going to eat whatever I want. Or they'll say, fuck it, I'm going to train tomorrow. Fuck it, I'm going to start that podcast that I've been wanting to do for a long time next week. Fuck it, I'm going to start writing, next week. I'm going to wait for this or wait for that, right? And they keep putting it off, and they get a case of what people are calling the fuckus, right? Well, what about having a fuck it go in the other direction? It can be positive too, right? You can say, oh, the hell with it, I'm just going to do an extra rep. Oh, the hell with it, I'm just going to do an extra set. Oh, fuck it, I'm just going to run a little further. And that's what I would do. I had these kind of markers throughout my neighborhood that I would run to. And as I'd get closer to them, I'd kind of do an analysis. I'd check my body a little bit and say, where are we at? As I'm running, where are we at? Doop, 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 running. And I would say, okay, well, I'm breathing just fine. Legs feel pretty good. I bet instead of just running, from that stop sign to that stop sign, I can actually run to that yellow house over there. And then even sometimes when I ran to the yellow house, I would say, F it, and just continue onward and continue to run. So I've learned that you can get that way. You can have a case of the fuck it's positive, or you can have a case of the fuck it's negative. What I've learned is that the more positive stuff that you lean into, the positive stuff is like picking up points throughout the day. And more positive stuff will lead to more positive stuff. The problem is more negative stuff will lead to more negative stuff. One cookie is going to probably lead to a second cookie. A serving of ice cream at night could be pretty innocent, but it could be something that sidetracks you for a while. It could be something that takes you off course for the next couple days, the next couple weeks. So you need to understand, what kind of person are you? Are you going to be the person that says, F it, I had the ice cream, on Friday night, so Saturday and Sunday is going to be an all-out onslaught of me cheating on my diet for the next 2.5, 3 days? That's not the way that dieting works. You have to be more consistent than just that. Even if you put in 5 days in a row of good lifting, 5 days in a row of good nutrition, 5 days in a row is not going to cut it when you start to cheat on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So you have to be careful on how far you get into it. But the running stuff that I've been doing has been very simple. There's been versions of sprints that I've been doing. When I do my sprints, I'll normally do 6 to 8 sprints. I just judge that by how I feel. I try to just sprint like X amount of distance. I've never measured it or anything, but I would say it's somewhere between 40 to 60 yards. I try to sprint about twice a week. There's been occasions where I've sprinted 3 times a week. When it comes to other forms of running, extremely often that I do a 10-minute walk. I probably do about 2 or 3 10-minute walks every single day. A walk-run or a run-walk, some version of that will happen probably at least twice a week as well. So we got 2 times a week for sprints, 2 times a week for some other types of running and walking. And then when I'm in Bodega Bay and I'm out at the beach, I will also occasionally run on the beach, but in addition to that, I will sometimes just hit up the stairs. I know it seems like a lot because I've just mentioned a lot of different types of exercise, and I've also talked to you guys about wearing the weighted vest. That's been really helpful. It's an XD vest, and it's a 40-pound weight vest. And that adds a challenge to any of the walk runs that I do, or even just the walking that I do in Bodega Bay, because it's very intensive because there's a lot of hills there. It's not really that much when you consider the fact that I'm really spreading it out. And I'm going each day by how I feel. If I feel really sore and really tight, I'm not going to sprint that day. If I feel really sore and really tight, I'm not going to sprint. The next evolution of stuff for me to work on is for me to work on my form. And I think some of the people have been hitting me up, and in a loving way, they've been communicating with me of like, hey man, you got to work on this, you got to work on that in terms of your form. They haven't said, hey man, you really suck at that, which I appreciate. They gave some constructive criticism. But whether you're trying to get in better shape through your diet, or whether you're trying to get in better shape through your fitness, just know that it has to be incremental progressions. You cannot lean on habits that you haven't strongly developed. You cannot all of a sudden, out of nowhere, insert a strong habit. Our brain works a little bit like a computer, but you can't just insert software that's stuff that your body's not programmed to do previously. You can insert small amounts of software, and you can start to program the body, and you can start to teach the body, hey, like, body, this is what we're doing. Let's get on board with this running. But if you start running out of nowhere and say that you're going to start running 2 miles on Monday, or that you're going to start this new diet on Monday, you're going to run out of luck. You're going to run out of strength. I'm not going to say that you can't do it that way, but it's going to be unlikely that you'll have continued success over a long period of time. I myself have been training for 30 years, and the evolution of me messing around with some bodybuilding and powerlifting when I was young, me becoming a powerlifter, and then shifting into doing a bodybuilding show, and now shifting into doing this, it just shows you that you don't have to be put in a box. Who you are, what you are, is not a life sentence, and who other people think that you are, that doesn't have to be who you are as well. Like for me, I'm not a power lifter, I'm not a bodybuilder, I'm not a runner. I'm somebody that enjoys fitness. I love to move around, I love to breathe hard, I love to work hard, I love to sweat, I love to get out in the sun. But I'm a father of 2, I'm a husband, and I'm also the people's coach. This is the stuff that I love to do. I love to assist and help other people. That's more of who I am. I've said this before. My goal is to lift more people and not necessarily lift more weights. Thank you guys for listening. I appreciate all the support that I'm getting here at markbell.com. Please tell a friend, get some other people over here to subscribe. Appreciate all the support you guys are giving. Strength is never weakness, weakness is never strength. Catch you all later.